Part 1. Decoding the Central Paradox. Letting go is not giving up. In the realm of personal development and the laws of the mind, few concepts cause as much confusion and misinterpretation as the step of letting go within the law of attraction. To many, this act seems to directly contradict the core principle of focusing on a goal. How can one simultaneously desire something with passion and yet forget about it? This report will delve deep into decoding this central paradox, clarifying that letting go is not only semantically different, but also fundamentally opposite in its psychological and energetic nature to giving up. Chapter 1. Defining letting go in the context of the law of attraction, an act of trust and surrender. Within the framework of the law of attraction, letting go or detachment is not the act of erasing a desire from your mind. On the contrary, it is an active and sophisticated psychological state wherein an individual releases their obsessive attachment to three specific elements: the outcome, the how, and the when of the desire's manifestation. This is not apathy, but rather a conscious act of surrender, an absolute trust that the universe or one's own subconscious mind has received the order and is in the process of fulfilling it. One of the most effective metaphors to describe this process is ordering food at a restaurant. You study the menu defining your desire, place your order with the waiter sending your request to the universe, and then you trust that the kitchen is preparing your meal and that it will be brought to you. You don't repeatedly run into the kitchen to check on the progress, worry whether the chef is following the recipe correctly, or anxiously ask the waiter for an update every minute. You let go of the process and trust in the outcome. 4. This act of letting go is precisely the detachment from a desperate craving and the persistent anxiety of, "It's not here yet." 5. According to leading thinkers in this field, letting go is the highest expression of faith. It is considered an art and the first sign of belief, an implicit confirmation that you know you will receive what you have asked for and are worthy of receiving. When you truly let go, you shift from an energy state of lack, "I need this to be happy," to a state of trust and wholeness. "I know this is coming, and I am already happy now." Chapter 2. The core distinction, a mindset of wisdom versus a mindset of defeat. The confusion between letting go and giving up is one of the greatest obstacles for practitioners of the law of attraction. Although both actions seem to involve stopping, they originate from two completely opposing mindsets and lead to contrary results. Letting go stems from a mindset of abundance, trust, and internal power, an internal locus of control. A practitioner lets go of control because they believe in a greater order, a grander universal plan, and most importantly, they believe their happiness and integrity do not depend on whether that specific outcome materializes. This is an act of wisdom, of serene composure, and a profound realization of the nature of reality. It is the acceptance of reality as it is while still holding the faith that it can change for the better. Giving up, in contrast, arises from a mindset of lack, fear, and a sense of failure. A person gives up because they believe they are incapable of achieving their goal, or because the fear of potential future pain and disappointment overwhelms their desire. This is not an act of power, but an attempt to seek refuge from pressure. As one insightful analysis puts it, letting go is seeing yourself as more valuable than the thing, and therefore releasing the thing. Giving up is being unable to release the thing, and therefore ultimately giving up on yourself. 7. In psychology, the act of giving up is often linked to a fear of failure, whereas letting go comes from realizing the futility of both the obsessive pursuit and the failure to attain it. Chapter 3. The role of letting go. Clearing the path for the universe's energy flow. According to the fundamental principles of the law of attraction, everything in the universe, including thoughts and emotions, is energy vibrating at specific frequencies. Like frequencies attract like frequencies. In this context, the role of letting go becomes mechanistically critical. When a person obsessively clings to a desire, they are often emitting a frequency of lack. Thoughts like, "Why isn't it here, yet I really need this?" or feelings of anxiety, impatience, and desperation are powerful signals sent to the universe that state, "I do not have this." In accordance with the law of like attracts like, the universe will precisely match that frequency of lack, thereby perpetuating the state of not having the desire in the person's reality. This is known as vibrational resistance. The act of letting go is a deliberate frequency shift. It is the move from the frequency of lack and resistance to the frequency of trust, allowing and already having it. By releasing anxiety about the outcome, the practitioner begins to feel and act as if the desire is already theirs. This emotional state, peace, gratitude, joy, emits an entirely different energy frequency, one of abundance. It is this frequency that is compatible with the frequency of the fulfilled desire. Furthermore, letting go creates an energetic vacuum. 14. When you stop trying to fill your life with worry and control, you create a space for the universe to operate and fill that void with what you truly desire, or perhaps something even better than you imagined. The principle that nature abhors a vacuum, as interpreted in some philosophical contexts, suggests that removing negative energy resistance automatically allows positive energy, the manifestation of desire, to flow in. Thus, letting go is not a passive step or a magical act. It is a foundational psychological state, a skill of conscious energy regulation. Instead of viewing the manifestation process linearly, ask, believe, let go, receive. A more profound approach is to realize that letting go is a state that must be maintained in parallel with believing. This is the practice of high intention, low attachment. 17. High intention means you hold a clear vision, know what you want, and take necessary inspired action. 14. Low attachment means you do not let your happiness and inner peace depend on if or when the outcome arrives. It is a delicate dance between effort and surrender, between creating and allowing, and it is within this very dance that the magic of the law of attraction has the space to work. Part 2. The psychology of resistance. Why do we cling? To truly master the art of letting go, it is essential to deeply understand the psychological mechanisms that cause us to cling. Resistance is not a character flaw. It is a complex set of psychological and biological responses rooted in core beliefs, fears, and past traumas. Dissecting these internal barriers is the first step toward dismantling them. Chapter 4. Vibrational resistance. The silent enemy of manifestation. In the language of the law of attraction, resistance is a technical term for the presence of subconscious thoughts and emotions that directly contradict what your conscious mind desires. It is an internal conflict. For instance, your conscious mind wants to manifest wealth, but your subconscious harbors beliefs like money is evil or rich people are greedy. 21. This contradiction creates a chaotic vibration, sending mixed signals to the universe. This resistance is not an abstract concept. It manifests clearly through negative emotions. Feelings of anxiety, doubt, impatience, despair, jealousy, or a painful sense of craving are all indicators that you are in a state of resistance. These emotions are your internal feedback system, letting you know that you are not vibrationally aligned with your desire. The thinker Abraham Hicks provided a powerful metaphor to explain this. Imagine you are driving a car. Your right foot is on the gas pedal, representing your desire, but your left foot is unconsciously pressing the brake, representing your resistance. The car will strain, move with great difficulty, and consume enormous energy. In this situation, the most effective way to go faster is not to press harder on the gas, i.e., to desire more intensely, but to gently lift your foot off the brake, i.e., to release the resistance. Resistance can be categorized into various forms, including mental opposing thoughts, emotional negative feelings, behavioral self-sabotaging habits, verbal negative self-talk, and even physical resistance, external circumstances reflecting internal beliefs. 23. Recognizing the presence of resistance through your negative emotions is the first step to being able to release it. Chapter 5. The fear of losing control. The need for certainty in an uncertain world. At the deepest level of clinging and resistance lies one of humanity's most primal fears, the fear of losing control. We try to control outcomes, timelines, and the way things unfold, because we crave a sense of certainty and safety in a world that is inherently uncertain. Modern psychology calls this intolerance of uncertainty a core cognitive factor found in many anxiety disorders. Demanding absolute certainty from an ever-changing reality is a guaranteed recipe for chronic anxiety and suffering. This need for control often stems from past experiences, especially childhood traumas where we felt helpless and unable to control our circumstances. Consequently, in our adult lives, we try to compensate by controlling everything around us, from our work and relationships to our very own desires. The paradox, however, is that this need for control is in fact controlling you. The more we try to control external factors, the more we lose our internal peace and freedom. In the context of the law of attraction, this fear of losing control manifests as an inability to surrender to the universe. We constantly ask how and when, trying to map out the path ourselves and force things to happen according to our own plan. This very act blocks the natural flow of manifestation because it emits a signal of profound distrust. Chapter 6. Emotional attachment and limiting beliefs. The shackles of the subconscious resistance and the fear of losing control are fueled by two deeper psychological factors: emotional attachment and limiting beliefs. Attachment is a psychological state in which a person's happiness, peace, and self-worth become entirely dependent on an external outcome, person, or situation. It is expressed through thoughts like, "I will only be happy when I get that job," "My life will be meaningless if that person leaves," or "I have to achieve this goal to prove my worth." This extreme attachment, a codependent relationship with an outcome, creates immense psychological pressure as it places your happiness on something that lies outside of your complete control. 5. Limiting beliefs are core assumptions often formed in childhood and embedded deep within the subconscious that prevent us from believing we are worthy or capable of achieving what we desire. The beliefs act as invisible filters, shaping how we see the world and ourselves. Examples of common limiting beliefs include, "I am not good," "Our smarts are talented enough." 28. Money is hard to come by, or money is the root of all evil. 21. I am not worthy of love, or happiness. 21. Life is a struggle, or success only comes through hard work. 30. The role of the subconscious mind is paramount here. The subconscious, which accounts for the vast majority of the mind's processing power, is the repository for all these beliefs and habits. It does not have the ability to judge or reject an idea. It simply accepts and executes whatever the conscious mind repeatedly and intensely believes. 32. Therefore, if your conscious mind desires wealth but your subconscious is filled with beliefs of scarcity, the subconscious will win. It will unconsciously guide your behavior, causing you to miss opportunities or self-sabotage your success to maintain consistency with its core beliefs. Chapter 7. Obsessive thinking and the risks associated with obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. A critical aspect that must be approached with extreme caution is the relationship between the law of attraction and mental health conditions, particularly obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. For individuals with anxious or OCD tendencies, the concept that thoughts create reality can become a source of extreme distress and fear. The heart of the issue lies in a cognitive distortion known as thought-action fusion. This is the irrational belief that simply thinking about something, especially a negative or taboo subject, increases the likelihood of it happening in reality, or that having the thought is morally as bad as performing the action. When a person has OCD, they are frequently plagued by intrusive thoughts, unwanted, distressing thoughts, images, or urges that are often violent, sexual, or blasphemous in nature. A mechanical application of the law of attraction could lead them to believe that these intrusive thoughts will manifest into reality, causing terrifying fear. This can in turn lead them to perform compulsions, such as repeating a word, praying, or checking to try to neutralize or cancel out the scary thought, thus worsening the OCD cycle. It is absolutely crucial to differentiate the law of attraction. In its healthiest interpretations, emphasizes deliberate intention and the positive emotional energy that accompanies it. 36. A desired manifestation requires focus, aspiration, and feelings of joy and gratitude, as if it has already happened. Conversely, intrusive thoughts in OCD are entirely unwanted, causing distress, disgust, and extreme anxiety. They do not carry the same vibrational frequency as a positively nurtured desire. Many in both the LOH community and those with lived OCD experience affirm manifestation must be intentional, and you have to want it. You cannot accidentally manifest your intrusive thoughts. 36. Misunderstanding and misapplying the law of attraction. In this context can be seriously harmful. Therefore, anyone struggling with symptoms of OCD should seek support from mental health professionals trained in evidence-based treatments like exposure and response prevention (ERP) therapy, rather than attempting to self-manage with spiritual concepts that can be misinterpreted. Overall, letting go is not just a spiritual act, but also a profound psychological intervention. It shares remarkable similarities with techniques in modern therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and acceptance and commitment therapy. Letting go of resistance is essentially the process of cognitive restructuring where we identify and challenge limiting beliefs. Letting go of attachment to outcomes is analogous to cognitive diffusion, where we learn to observe our thoughts as fleeting mental events rather than absolute truths. Recognizing this connection helps to demystify the concept of letting go, transforming it from a vague idea into a concrete set of psychological skills that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Part 3. Echoes of Ancient Wisdom. Philosophical Frameworks for Letting Go. The concept of letting go to receive is not a New Age invention. It is a golden thread woven through many of humanity's greatest philosophical and spiritual traditions. Exploring these echoes of wisdom not only lends depth and authenticity to the concept of letting go, but also provides solid frameworks for its practice. Ancient philosophers from the streets of Athens to the mountains of China all seem to arrive at a common diagnosis for the source of human unhappiness: the conflict between the mind's desires and expectations and the uncontrollable reality of the world. Letting go was their proposed solution to this fundamental conflict. Chapter 8. Stoicism. Accepting what is beyond our control, the dichotomy of control. Stoicism, an ancient Greek school of philosophy developed by thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Emperor Marcus Aurelius, offers one of the most practical and powerful frameworks for understanding the art of letting go. The foundation of this philosophy is the dichotomy of control. 38. According to this principle, everything in life can be divided into two categories: things we can control and things we cannot. The only things we have complete control over are our own internal processes, our thoughts, judgments, beliefs, desires, and actions. Everything else, external events, the actions and opinions of others, our health, wealth, reputation, and the final outcomes of our efforts, lies beyond our total control. The Stoics argued that the source of all suffering, anxiety, and frustration lies not in external events themselves, but in our judgments about them. We suffer not because it is raining, but because we believe it shouldn't be raining. Therefore, letting go in Stoicism is a conscious act of abandoning the futile effort to control the uncontrollable, and instead focusing all our energy on mastering our own inner kingdom. A further step in this philosophy is the practice of amor fati, a Latin term meaning a love of one's fate. This is not merely passive acceptance, but an active embrace and love for everything that happens, good or bad, as an essential and indispensable part of life. In this way, the practitioner no longer fights against the current of life, but instead finds strength and peace, even in adversity. When applied to the law of attraction, Stoic philosophy provides a solid foundation. Clearly define your desire and internal controllable act. Take the necessary actions with virtue, controllable but completely let go of, and accept the final outcome, uncontrollable. Peace comes from knowing you have done your best within your sphere of power. The rest belongs to the universe, or logos ta fate, as the Stoics would call it. Chapter 9. Taoism. Living in accordance with Wu Wei, effortless action. Taoism, an ancient Chinese philosophy associated with Lao Tzu, introduces a profound concept known as Wu Wei. Often inaccurately translated as non-action, the true meaning of Wu Wei is closer to effortless action, or action in harmony with nature. 42. This philosophy draws its inspiration from observing nature. Water does not try to break the rock, but gently flows around it. Bamboo does not resist the wind, but bends with it. Wu Wei advocates that humans should cease imposing their personal will rigidly and forcefully upon the world. Instead, we should learn to listen, feel, and move with the natural current of events, or the Tao. 42. Letting go in the Taoist context is the release of excessive effort, micromanagement, and attachment to a specific plan or outcome. When a person practices Wu Wei, their actions do not disappear, they become far more effective and easy. It is akin to the state of being in the zone for an athlete or artist, where action becomes intuitive, automatic, and perfect without the interference of the analytical mind. 43. A wonderful analogy is offered instead of rowing with all your might against the current and wind, representing trying to control everything. Why not raise your sail and let the wind, representing the Tao, the universe, carry you to your destination in its own way? 4. This resonates perfectly with the concept of surrender in the law of attraction. By letting go of control over the how and the when, we allow a greater intelligence to guide us to our desired outcome in the most natural and harmonious way possible. Chapter 10. Buddhism, the art of non-attachment nekkhamma. In Buddhism, the concept of letting go is perhaps analyzed at its most profound and subtle level. The core of the Four Noble Truths, the foundation of Buddhist teachings, is the recognition that the root of all suffering, dukkha, is craving, tanha, and clinging, upadana. 45. We suffer not because of events themselves, such as loss, change, or unfulfilled wishes, but because of our mind's attachment to the expectations and desires related to those events. In this context, letting go, or nekkhamma in the Pali language, does not imply indifference or apathy. It is defined as the determination to be free from the shackles of suffering. It is an act of wisdom born from understanding the nature of impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and no self, anatta, in all things. The practice of non-attachment does not mean you cannot enjoy life or love others. On the contrary, it means you can enjoy and love more fully and freely, because your happiness is no longer dependent on the permanent existence of those objects. You can savor a delicious meal, but if it is not there, you are still at peace. You can love a person deeply, but you accept that the relationship, like all things, is subject to change. A famous Zen saying encapsulates this. The point is not that you should own nothing. Rather, the spiritual discipline is in letting nothing own you. 49. Letting go in Buddhism is the release of attachment to everything: material objects, emotions, ideas, and even one's own self. When applied to the law of attraction, this philosophy teaches that clinging to a desire is the very source of anxiety and unease. By releasing your attachment to the outcome, you not only free up the energy for the desire to manifest, but more importantly, you achieve a state of peace and happiness in the present moment, regardless of what the final result may be. Though they use different languages and conceptual systems, all these traditions indicate that the path to power, peace, and effectiveness lies not in trying to control the outer world, but in mastering and letting go from within. Letting go in the law of attraction is therefore not an isolated idea, but the inheritance and popularization of one of humanity's most profound truths. Part 4. The Neuroscience of Surrender: What Happens in the Brain. While ancient philosophies provide profound conceptual frameworks for why and how to let go, modern neuroscience is beginning to illuminate what is actually happening inside the brain when we shift from a state of clinging and anxiety to one of surrender and acceptance. Exploring these neurobiological mechanisms helps to demystify the process of letting go, transforming it from an abstract spiritual concept into an observable and measurable biological phenomenon. Fundamentally, letting go is a state change in the nervous system, shifting the brain from a threat or survival mode to a safety/creation mode. Chapter 11. From Anxiety to Acceptance: The Roles of the Amygdala and the Prefrontal Cortex. The psychological state of clinging, anxiety, and doubt, essentially the state of not letting go, has distinct neurological signatures. Functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI) studies show that these states are closely linked to hyperactivity in two key brain regions, the amygdala and the default mode network (DMN). The amygdala is the brain's processing center for fear and threats. When we worry that our desires will not materialize, the amygdala activates, putting the body on high alert. Meanwhile, the DMN is a network of brain regions that is most active when we are not focused on a specific external task. It is associated with thinking about ourselves, the past, and the future. In individuals with depression or anxiety, the DMN is often overactive, leading to a state of repetitive negative thinking or rumination about past failures and future worries. Conversely, practices of letting go, such as meditation and mindfulness, have been proven to regulate these networks. They help to strengthen the activity and connectivity of the prefrontal cortex (PFC), particularly its medial and lateral regions, which serves as the brain's executive center responsible for decision-making, planning, and emotional regulation. The PFC acts as the rational adult in the brain, capable of sending inhibitory signals to the amygdala, calming down the fear and anxiety response. Numerous fMRI studies have shown a consistent pattern following a course of mindfulness practice. Amygdala activity in response to negative emotional stimuli decreases, while functional connectivity between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex increases. 59. This suggests that, neurologically speaking, letting go is the process by which the prefrontal cortex learns to downregulate the amygdala's reactivity, allowing us to observe anxious feelings without being carried away by them. Chapter 12. Physiological impact, cortisol, stress, and the power of gratitude. This shift in brain activity is accompanied by profound changes in the body's physiology. The chronic state of clinging and anxiety constantly activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis, the body's primary stress response system. This leads to the continuous release of the stress hormone cortisol. In acute doses, cortisol is useful, helping to mobilize energy to deal with a threat. However, when cortisol levels remain chronically high due to persistent worry and stress, it can cause numerous detrimental effects, weakening the immune system, causing weight gain, especially abdominal fat, increasing blood pressure, and impairing cognitive function. 61. Energetically, this is the fight or flight state, a state completely incompatible with the openness and receptivity required to manifest a desire. Conversely, practices of letting go, especially gratitude, have been shown to have a positive impact on our physiology. Practicing gratitude activates regions in the medial prefrontal cortex, and more importantly, it promotes the release of feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine associated with reward and motivation, and serotonin linked to mood and well-being. 64. Concurrently, studies show that people who regularly feel gratitude have lower cortisol levels. Furthermore, the state of relaxation and acceptance that accompanies letting go also stimulates the vagus nerve. This is the main nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system, also known as the rest and digest system. Vagal stimulation helps to slow the heart rate, reduce blood pressure, and increase heart rate variability, HRV. 65. High HRV is a key indicator of a resilient and flexible autonomic nervous system, a physiological marker of fortitude and emotional self-regulation. Chapter 13. The flow state, the neuroscience of effortless action. The flow state, as defined by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, is a state of being so completely immersed in an activity that one's sense of self-time and the surrounding environment seem to dissolve. It is the epitome of effortless action, Wu Wei, and a powerful expression of letting go of the outcome to become fully absorbed in the process. Neurologically, the flow state has a unique and somewhat paradoxical signature: transient hypofrontality. 53. More specifically, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex DLPFC, which is responsible for self-criticism, logical analysis, and complex planning, temporarily goes quiet. This shutting down liberates other brain regions, allowing them to operate more automatically, intuitively, and efficiently without interference from the inner critic. This is why, in a state of flow, we act without thinking. Simultaneously, the brain releases a cocktail of feel-good neurochemicals, including dopamine, enhancing focus and motivation, norepinephrine, increasing alertness, endorphins, reducing pain and creating euphoria, and anandamide, generating feelings of bliss and promoting creative lateral thinking that connects disparate ideas. This combination creates a positive feedback loop, sustaining deep concentration and profound satisfaction. The link to letting go is clear. To enter a state of flow, one of the prerequisites is to release attachment to the outcome and the fear of failure. When you are no longer worried about whether you are performing well, you free up your mind to focus entirely on the task at hand. The state of letting go facilitates the occurrence of transient hypofrontality, clearing the way for effortless action. In summary, neuroscience provides a solid biological foundation for the concept of letting go. It is not a vague idea, but a measurable neurophysiological state change. The process of manifestation in the law of attraction, viewed through this lens, is the process of regulating one's nervous system from a state of stress defense and a focus on lack to a state of safety, openness, creativity, and readiness to receive. Letting go is the key to making this transformation. Part 5. The practical toolkit: cultivating the ability to let go. Understanding the nature and mechanisms of letting go is a critical step, but to turn theory into reality, we need a specific and consistent set of practical tools. The ability to let go is not an innate trait, but a skill that can be trained and strengthened over time. The most effective techniques generally share a common feature. They shift the focus of consciousness away from worries about the future outcomes and ruminations about the past, regrets back to the present moment sensation. By anchoring the mind in the present, the attachment to what lies beyond our control naturally weakens. Chapter 14. The Foundation of Mindfulness Meditation. Exercises for observation and detachment. Mindfulness is the core practice for developing the ability to let go. It is the art of paying attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment. Body scan meditation. This is a foundational exercise that helps identify and release the physical tension the body stores due to anxiety and resistance. The practitioner lies or sits comfortably, then slowly moves their attention through each part of the body, from the toes to the crown of the head, simply observing any sensations, warmth, cold, tension, relaxation, without trying to change them. This technique helps reconnect the mind and body, pulling consciousness out of thought loops and back into felt reality. Breath-focused meditation. This is the most common meditation technique in which the breath is used as an anchor for the mind. The practitioner simply sits still and observes the sensation of the breath as it enters and leaves the body. When the mind begins to wander into future worries or past ruminations, the task is simply to notice the wandering and gently, and without judgment, guide the attention back to the breath. Each time you bring your mind back, you are performing one repetition of letting go of unnecessary thoughts. Detached mindfulness. This is a more advanced technique and is the essence of mental letting go. Its goal is to learn to observe your thoughts and emotions as objective events rather than identifying with them. A classic exercise is leaves on a stream. 80. The practitioner visualizes sitting beside a stream. Each time a thought appears in the mind, they place the thought on a leaf and watch it float away down the current. This technique creates a space between the observer consciousness and the observed thought, reinforcing the belief that you are not your thoughts. Chapter 15. Cognitive restructuring, journaling, and questioning techniques to change beliefs. If mindfulness helps us detach from our thoughts, cognitive restructuring helps us change the content of those thoughts, especially our limiting beliefs. Gratitude journaling. This is one of the most powerful tools for shifting from a mindset of lack to one of abundance. Instead of focusing on a desire that has not yet materialized, you deliberately direct your attention to the good that is already present in your life. 76. Writing down 3 to 5 things you are grateful for each day, from small things like a delicious cup of coffee to big things like your health or a good relationship, will train your brain to recognize positivity and significantly reduce your attachment to a specific future outcome for your happiness. Scripting. This technique asks you to write about your desire in the present tense as if it has already happened vividly. For example, instead of writing, "I want a new job," you would write, "I am so incredibly happy and grateful for my amazing new job. I love my colleagues and feel so appreciated every day." This helps to reprogram the subconscious mind, creating the feeling of already having it and eliminating the frequency of lack. The positive emotion generated during this process is key. Socratic questioning and challenging limiting beliefs. This is a core technique from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT 86. When you identify a limiting belief, e.g., "I'm not good enough to succeed," use a series of questions to interrogate and challenge it. What is the evidence that this thought is 100% true. What is the evidence that this thought is not true? Is there an alternative explanation for this situation? Is thinking this way helping me or hindering me? If my best friend were in this situation, what would I advise them? This process helps to destabilize entrenched beliefs and opens up new, more realistic and constructive perspectives. Chapter 16, Somatic Regulation, Body and Breath Exercises to release tension, resistance, and anxiety are not just mental phenomena. They are stored and expressed in the body as muscle tension, shallow breathing, and disconnection. Therefore, letting go also requires a body-based approach. Grounding exercises. These techniques help pull consciousness out of anxious spirals in the head and back into physical reality. Simple methods include walking barefoot on grass or soil, focusing on the sensation in your feet. The 5 to 4 3 2 1 technique name. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Or simply holding a cold ice cube in your hand and focusing on the sensation. Deep breathing, e.g., box breathing. Breathing deeply and slowly, especially making the exhale longer than the inhale, is the quickest way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. This directly lowers the heart rate, reduces blood pressure, and decreases cortisol levels, bringing the body and mind into a state of relaxation and receptivity. Physical release. Sometimes pent-up emotional energy needs to be physically discharged. Activities like yoga, dancing, running, or even intentional acts, like screaming into a pillow or having a full cathartic cry, can help release blocked energy, creating a sense of relief and making space for peace. Chapter 17. The Power of Gratitude and Inspired Action. These 2 elements are the final catalysts that complete the process of letting go. Gratitude, as mentioned. Gratitude is the potent antidote to a lack mindset. When you genuinely feel grateful for what you already have, your dependence on a future outcome for your happiness diminishes significantly. Gratitude creates a state of abundance in the present moment, and it is this very state that attracts more good things into your life. Inspired action. Letting go does not mean waiting passively. After you have defined your desire and surrendered the outcome to the universe, you need to listen to your intuition. Inspired actions are those that arise from an internal nudge, a gentle feeling of rightness, not from fear, pressure, or the force of the analytical mind. It could be a sudden urge to call someone, an idea, to sign up for a course, or a decision to go to a certain place. These actions are often the natural, easy steps on the path to your desire. Differentiating between inspired action and forced action is a critical skill in the practice of letting go. By combining these tools, letting go ceases to be an abstract command and becomes a multidimensional practice that affects every aspect of your being, from your thoughts and emotions to your body and spirit, creating a comprehensive and sustainable transformation. Part 6. The Path to Mastery, Troubleshooting, and Integration. Mastering the art of letting go is a journey, not a destination. Along this path, the practitioner will inevitably encounter challenges and moments of feeling stuck. However, understanding the common problems and how to overcome them, along with transforming letting go from a mere technique into a part of one's character, is what separates an amateur practitioner from one who has achieved true mastery. Furthermore, recognizing that letting go is a foundational meta-skill for success in many other areas of life will provide a deeper motivation and meaning to the practice. Chapter 18. Common Troubleshooting. When letting go doesn't seem to work. One of the most discouraging experiences is when you believe you have let go, yet your desire still fails to manifest. In these cases, instead of concluding that the law of attraction is ineffective, it is essential to perform an internal diagnosis to identify potential barriers. Diagnosis 1. Lingering subconscious resistance. This is the most common cause. You may have let go on a conscious level, but limiting beliefs and fires in your subconscious are still operating silently. You might say you trust, but deep down you are still worrying about the how and the when. The solution is to return to the self-inquiry techniques in Part 5, using deeper questions to explore what you truly believe and fear. Diagnosis 2. Confusing letting go with giving up. There is a fine line between trusting it will come and no longer caring about it. If your act of letting go is accompanied by feelings of disappointment, frustration, or apathy, you may have inadvertently sent out the signal, "I don't want it anymore," and the universe will respond to that signal. True letting go is always accompanied by a sense of peace, trust, and quiet optimism. Diagnosis 3. Impatience and trying to control the timeline. Constantly checking to see if your desire has arrived. Whether by checking your email, your phone, or just constantly thinking about it, is a clear sign of not letting go. Each time you check, you are affirming to the universe that it is not here yet. A powerful solution for these issues is to practice accepting all possibilities. 100. Take the time to reflect on and find peace with all three potential scenarios. Your desire manifests exactly as you envisioned. Your desire does not manifest. Your desire manifests in a completely different way, possibly even better than you imagined. When you can face all three possibilities with the same energy of acceptance and peace, you have truly released your attachment to a single outcome. This peace is the most powerful energetic state for attracting good things. Chapter 19. From Practice to Personality, Making Letting Go an Intrinsic Trait. The ultimate goal is not to practice letting go as a tool when needed, but to become a person whose nature is to let go. This requires a deeper transformation from changing behaviors to changing one's identity and personality. A unique approach to this comes from the field of creative writing. When a writer wants to create a character with depth, they often begin by identifying a core flaw and a trait the character must learn to overcome that flaw and complete their journey. We can apply this model to ourselves. Let's see attachment and the need for control as the core flaw and letting go and trust as the trait to be cultivated. By viewing our life as a story and each challenge as an opportunity to develop this trait, we can proactively reshape our own character. To integrate this into daily life, we can borrow methods from Stoicism. Begin each day with a morning ritual plan to act with virtue and remind yourself of what is within and outside your control. End each day with an evening ritual journal to reflect on your actions, considering when you successfully practiced letting go and when you were swept away by attachment. By repeating this conscious practice, letting go will gradually shift from a conscious effort to a natural response, an indispensable part of your personality. Chapter 20. Case Studies Letting Go in Peak Performance and Post-Traumatic Growth. The power of letting go is not confined to the framework of the law of attraction. It is a widely recognized principle in the psychology of peak performance and recovery. Peak performance elite athletes, master musicians, and top professionals often describe their best performances as moments when they were not thinking, playing freely, and trusting their training. 105. This is the act of letting go of attachment to the result, winning, losing, to focus entirely on the process of execution in the present moment. Basketball legend Kobe Bryant once said, "The results don't really matter. It's the figuring out that matters." 107. This focus on the process reduces performance pressure and anxiety, allowing unconsciously practiced skills to be expressed fluidly, a state very close to flow. Successful entrepreneurs. An analysis of the biographies of many successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, Phil Knight, Nike, or Jeff Bezos reveals a common pattern. They often have an incredibly bold and ambitious vision, a big, hairy, audacious goal, BHAG. But at the same time, they are very flexible and willing to let go of specific plans, strategies, and products when faced with market feedback. They are attached to the why, but flexible on the how. This willingness to let go of what isn't working to embrace new opportunities is the key to their innovation and sustained success. Post-traumatic growth, PTG. This is a field of psychology showing that many people not only recover from traumatic events, but also experience significant positive growth. One of the core elements of PTG is the ability to let go. Trauma survivors must let go of old beliefs about the world, e.g., the world is a safe place and about themselves. Accept a new reality and from there construct a new system of meaning for their lives. 113. This process requires letting go of control, accepting vulnerability and allowing oneself to be healed and reborn from the pain. These examples reveal a deeper truth. Letting go is not just a tactic to manifest a specific desire. It is a meta skill foundational to resilience, peak performance, and personal growth in all areas of life. Your practice of letting go to attract a career opportunity doesn't just help you get the job. More importantly, it is training you in a fundamental psychological skill that helps you better cope with uncertainty, failure, and pressure in every other aspect of your life. This is the true, deep, and lasting benefit of mastering the art of letting go, a benefit that far surpasses the original goal of manifestation.